everyone, I'm Nathaniel and welcome to this week's report. Lots of good things happening this week. First off, we spent our Patreon funds for this month on 10 brand new illustrations, which you will be seeing in the next couple of months. I don't know if most of you have noticed, but most of our new articles have illustrations that are being funded through our Patreon, and we'd like to thank all of our patrons for that. You've really been keeping us afloat, guys. Now, the reason it takes a month or two to publish the illustrations that have just been made is that we would like to have a good backup of ready articles in case something goes wrong. Now, this week, you have seen us publishing our Meet the Team page, where you can learn a little bit about our team members. Now, it's not all of us, but more people will be added to the page as soon as they submit their bios. Alright, on to the articles. We started the week with a new article on the boys' anti-tank rifle, which is replacing our old article. I'll let Lawrence, the author, present it.
The rifle anti-tank .55-inch Boys, or more commonly called the Boys anti-tank rifle, was the result of a 1934 Small Arms Committee program that called for a platoon-level heavy-caliber rifle capable of penetrating 16 mm of armor at 100 yards. After looking at the Polish Karabin 35, the team, led by Captain Henry Boys, developed a large-scale bolt-action rifle chambered to take a .55-inch cartridge. The cartridge was also developed by Captain Boys and was a modified .50 BMG cartridge. The rifle was adopted for British service in November 1937, Captain Boys dying only a few days before this, and so the rifle was named in honor of him. It was issued at a rate of 1 per platoon, and despite its reputation of being an incapable weapon, it was effective in the early war years, including claiming the first tank kills for the British Army during the 1940 Norwegian campaign. Both the rifle and the cartridge went through several modifications to make them more effective, the most noticeable being the change to the muzzle brake by the Canadian manufacturer John Inglis and Company. This rectangular block with several rear-facing slants, often called the harmonica, helped reduce the recoil as well as the amount of debris thrown up. The rifle was declared obsolete in 1943, but it was still retained at divisional level due to its capabilities and anti-material duties. It was found to be able to penetrate obstacles like bunkers, sandbags and similar with relative ease, and was so still useful to the soldiers. Its service wasn't just limited to Britain and the Commonwealth. Its baptism of fire was by the Finns during the Winter War, where its 23.3 mm of penetration allowed it to tackle the Soviets' BT and T-26 tanks with ease. The Germans acquired a large amount during the British retreat from France, and these were reissued to static and other low-priority units. The US Marine Corps Raiders and the US Army Rangers also made use of the Boys in a limited capacity. Indeed, the Boys were still being used by the US military during the Korean War, where it was fitted with a telescopic sight and used to engage North Korean and Chinese forces at over a kilometer away. One of the last uses of the Boys was by the Provisional IRA when they used one to attack HMS Brave Borderer in September 1965, causing severe damage to one of its turbines. Check out the article to find out more about this much maligned weapon.
Thanks, Lawrence. This article was illustrated by Yavnashva Sharma from Fiverr and funded by our Patreon campaign. Next up, we had a look at the development of the Swedish CV-90 infantry fighting vehicle in what we hope is the first of a long series of articles. The CV-90 is one of the most successful IFVs in recent history from an export point of view. The CV-90 went through an extensive development project by Hägglunds and Bofors, with a special accent placed on mobility, reliability, and the ability to easily convert the platform to other roles. This amazing article was written by Alfons Falk, who was the head of armored vehicle design at Hägglunds, so he has been responsible for the development of the CV-90 for Sweden and thereafter for CV-90 export versions. The illustration was done by Andriy Akhtaten Kurushkin and paid for with funds from our Patreon campaign. Finally, we have an article that covers a specific vehicle with a unique history. the Jagdpanzer 38T named Chwat. On the 1st of August 1944, the Warsaw Uprising began as a part of Operation Tempest. During the course of this conflict, several German vehicles were captured by Polish resistance fighters, including a Jagdpanzer 38T. Disabled by Molotovs and then repaired and pressed into service, this Jagdpanzer was named Chwat, which is Polish for daredevil. However, Chwat never saw combat, as it was kept in reserve before being disabled by a collapsing building. This article was brought to you by John Stevenson and illustrated by David Bocale. And now, let's hear from Ed Jackson as he tells us about Plain Encyclopedia's latest article.
This week, Plain Encyclopedia released our article on the Consolidated Vultee, later Convair XP-81, a plane whose claim to fame was its hybrid power plant of both a piston-powered propeller in the front and a jet engine in the back. With the use of jet engines in aircraft still in infancy, the idea was that a long-range escort fighter could utilize its propeller engine for cruising and switch on its jet engine for high-speed combat. The prototype went through various iterations before its demise during the post-war rise of fully jet-powered fighters. Read more about this interesting mashup of jet and piston power on our website, plain-encyclopedia.com.
Now, let's go back to Lawrence and hear some gaming news.
This week we'll take a look at War Thunder's controversial Operation Summer. The task is split into two parts, and the end result is players can assemble a T-34E or an SDKFZ-234-4, an M8 or an AEC Mark II, and if they continue and they perform the higher tasks, the IS-7. To do this, the players will need to perform certain feats in the game, like gain a supporting fire achievement or win 4 battles with a 70% activity. However, the operation has become somewhat of a joke within the community, with many accusing the developers of making the rewards too hard to achieve, even by the most hardcore gamers. Some have even speculated that it is part of a scheme in order to sell the IS-7 at a later date. The IS-7 is a new Soviet Tier-5 heavy tank in the USSR tech tree. Incredibly fast and extremely well armored even against modern shell types, it packs a good punch with its 130mm cannon. Mark Nash has written an excellent and informative article on our website if you want to read more about its real-life history. A link down in the description.
Thanks, Lawrence. Until next time, check out our website for new articles, like us on Facebook, where we post interesting photos and questions, and consider donating to our Patreon campaign. These donations really go a long way to help us stay afloat and keep up the rhythm. Also, like and subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss our reports or any of our future features. I'm Nathaniel, and until next time, keep us in your sights.